What is up, you guys? In today's video, I'm going to walk you through the question of how many employees do I need inside of my woodworking business? Let's dive in. All right, well, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the podcast. As always, I'm so glad that you're here. I'm your host, Zach Vaught, and I want to dive into this question today of how many employees do I need inside of my woodworking business? The short answer is that it depends. It really does depend on the size of your business, the type of product that you're making, the systems that you have or don't have, the equipment that you do or don't have. And so I want to just kind of work through a couple of the questions that you need to be asking yourself about employees. And I also want to give you an employee that I think every single woodworking business should have, and it's a part-time guy, and I want to walk you through what his tasks should be, what his responsibilities should be. So when you're asking yourself the question, how many employees do I need? The first question that you have to ask yourself is, am I getting all the work done? Is my backlog growing faster than my ability to produce? If you're selling more than you're producing, then your lead times are growing. That means you need employees or you need more labor hours in the shop. If your lead times are shortening, that means that you have more ability to produce than you do sell. Okay, so what we always want to do in our business is we want our lead times to be slowly growing and us to be adding labor hours to that on the back end. We don't want to build a giant team, equipment, overhead. We don't want to build a business that way and then hope that sales come. We want to drive sales and then slowly build our team, slowly add to our equipment, move into higher, bigger commercial spaces after the fact. So the first thing that is kind of a rule of thumb for me is that you should be able to produce around $100 in product per labor hour. Okay, so if you sell a $4,000 dining table set, you should be able to produce that in 40 labor hours. So $4,000 set, 40 labor hours. $2,000 table, 20 labor hours. $8,000 set, you should be able to produce that in 80 labor hours, okay? So obviously, if you're doing this by yourself, that's gonna be a week's worth of work or 2 weeks worth of work, depending upon the project. But when you add another full-time worker, it cuts that in half, right? So if you're working 40 hours and then you add another full-time employee, you're gonna cut an 80-hour project from a 2-week project to a 1-week project, ideally. And so you need to be looking at your backlog. Is my backlog growing? Then I need to probably be adding employees. Now, there are two different components inside of your business. There's the administrative side of your business and sales. So like handling and managing leads, selling and handling the books, the finances, the ordering, the logistics, the customer communications. Then there's the fulfillment side of your business, which is how do we actually get all the work done? How do we build all the stuff? The number one hire that I recommend for all woodworking businesses is a part-time guy in fulfillment. What I mean by that is that you need a guy in fulfillment that is doing what I classify as lower level tasks. What are lower level tasks? Cleaning the shop, organizing the tools, sanding, wood filling, staining, assembling chairs, taking out the trash. You need a guy that's 10 to 15 to 20 hours a week, depends on your workload and how much you have in your backlog. But I would encourage every woodworking business that's trying to grow to have somebody like that can pull you off of those tasks. Because here's the deal that you have to understand in your business. You and I have the same 24 hours in a day. The same 24 hours in a day that Elon Musk has or that Warren Buffett has. They're billionaires, so what is the difference? They have removed themselves from low-level tasks and they've moved themselves to really high-level tasks in a good model, right? So the same can happen for you. What are the high-level tasks in a business and what are the low-level tasks in a business? I would consider the highest level tasks to be selling, to be brand building, to be making relationships and communications, to be getting financing, hiring and firing. Those are high level tasks, management style tasks. If you can move from doing the menial stuff and get some of that time back, you can focus on more value driven activities, okay? So I would encourage everybody, if you're growing a woodworking business and you can actually look at your backlog and see that it's growing, to be starting to consider bringing in a high school employee, somebody that you know from the church, right? Getting somebody that you can pay $10, $12, $15 an hour to do stuff. They don't touch a saw. They're not in danger of cutting fingers or arms or hands off, but they sand, they wood fill, they take out the trash, they organize the tools, they sweep the shop, those type of things, okay? So when it comes to how many employees do I need, you need to be looking at your backlog, you need to be looking at your current rate of fulfillment, and then you need to be looking at how much product am I producing per labor hour. You need to get that to $100 or more, and then you need to be able to figure out, is my backlog growing at such a rate that I'm going to be at 16 or 18 or 20 weeks backlog? If you're that high, if you have that many orders in the queue, you need to be adding people to your team. The way that I scaled my business is that I would run my backlog up in sales up till about 12 to 14 weeks, and then I would make a hire. Well, it would cut my lead times back down because I had more labor hours to work with. Then I would increase advertising, increase organic outreach, and I would drive my sales back up to where I wanted to get to around a 12 to 14 week lead time with that team. Then I would make another hire, right? I'd cut those lead times would cut back down. That's just a rinse and repeat method for getting the right employees at the right time, not hiring too soon when you don't have the cash to support the payroll. The other thing that you can do here is that you can use equipment and machinery to replace employees. The beautiful thing about equipment is that it's going to be there every single morning when it's supposed to be. It doesn't clock in late. It doesn't take prolonged lunch breaks. It doesn't ghost you and not show up, right? It doesn't backtalk you or give you a hard time as long as it's working and you do proper maintenance, right? So if you have great equipment, that can give you some time back from an employee standpoint. Another really great tip that we use is instead of getting all of your lumber raw and doing all of your milling in-house, get your lumber pre-milled. Pay an extra 10, 15, 20 cents per board foot for your lumber. Get it milled from the mill so that all you got to do is maybe rip it down a table saw. You got two parallel edges. It's easy to laminate your tabletops. It's easy to actually get your products built as opposed to you having to spend 3 to 4 hours milling inside of your shop, which is putting more wear and tear on your equipment, is taking more time out of your employees' day when you could have just spent a little bit more money on the materials themselves, got them, and saved all that time back. So we're trying to get as much time back as possible so that we don't have to make a bunch of hires, so we don't have a huge payroll burden every 2 weeks, right? So if you have any questions about this, let me know below, but I would love to walk you through this, chat with you about this. And these are the actual types of questions that we dive deep into inside of the Woodworking Business Accelerator program. So if you're really actively scaling and growing your woodworking business and want more leads, you want people that have been where you're trying to go there to walk alongside you, coach you up, deep dive into these questions, this is what we do. And so if you have questions about that or want to check it out, be sure to check out the third link in the description below where you can fill out a quick application, hop on a call with me or one of my team members, and we can see if we're a good fit to help you accomplish your woodworking business goals. And so with that being said, guys, as always, I really do appreciate you, and I'll talk to you soon.